Printing United Expo is where the entire printing industry unites under one roof. Explore cutting-edge technology from over 800 exhibitors, see live product demonstrations, and discover solutions that can transform your business. With exclusive education sessions, expert insights, and endless networking opportunities, this is the must-attend event for anyone in print. No matter your role, Printing United Expo delivers the innovation, connections, and knowledge to help you stay ahead. Join us this October 22nd to 24th in Orlando. Learn more at printingunited.com and experience the future of print today.
Welcome to Her Imprint, part of the Impressions Exchange. I'm Denise Gustafson, your host. This podcast celebrates the remarkable women who are transforming the printing industry. We'll explore their journeys, from challenges to triumphs, and share the stories that leave a lasting imprint. So this morning, I have with me Andrea Lake. She's the founder and CEO of Sticker Junkie. So Andrea, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Denise. I'm excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you and chat a little bit about the journey you've been on. So to get us started, give me a little bit of background about Sticker Junkie itself.
Sure thing. I started Sticker Junkie in 1999. It was the first customized sticker website on the internet that had a generator that you could just go immediately create a sticker and order it straight away, even without any artistic talent. And we were selling 100 stickers for $25. So that was a long time ago.
Definitely a long time ago. So what
Yeah.
made you start it in the first place?
So I owned a couple of clothing companies. I owned anti-establishment clothing and delinquent distribution. We were selling a lot of stuff to chain stores, a lot of stuff to Hot Topic, a lot of stuff to like cooler counterculture locations. And we had very cool stickers. Anti-establishment had 98 slogans in the catalog, which was an insane number to launch a clothing line with. And we couldn't afford to get all the t-shirts printed straight away and keep them in inventory, but we could afford to do all of the stickers. So then what kept happening is all these local bands in Southern California kept asking us, can you print stickers for us? Can you print our stickers? We love your stickers. Can you print our stickers? And I was like, no. And then one day, 4 or 5 people in the same day asked me, and I was like, wait a minute. Yes, absolutely, absolutely can do that. Yes.
People are asking, you might as well. You're doing something right somewhere.
So we actually started as like an outsourced place where we would just gather all the sales, go to another screen printing location, get the stickers screen printed because digital printing really was not much of a thing back then. And that's how we started. But we found that as we were outsourcing, inevitably somebody would get a huge contract with Budweiser or the UFC or someone, and they would push our stickers to the side and then deliver to us late. So we ended up taking the stickers in-house simply because of the turn time.
You want to make sure you could turn them in enough time, quick enough, so that way your customers got them in a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah, our average turn time at stickerjunkie.com is 3.6 days, which is
Oh,
pretty great for a custom product.
yeah, definitely. So was Sticker Junkie your first entree into print?
No, I had other, yes and no. So I had other clothing lines, but all of the printing for those t-shirts was outsourced. So Sticker Junkie was the first one where I took printing in-house and have full-scale facilities where we manufacture all of the products that we sell.
So you said you were in apparel. So I guess my question is like, how did you, besides the fact that you want to print stickers, how did you decide that print is like a thing for you?
So my very first company that I ever started, I was 17 years old, and there were these sticks called rhythm sticks. They're juggling toys. You hold one long stick in each hand that's about 1.5 feet long, a little doweling, and you're throwing around a decorated weighted stick in the middle and juggling with it. And I did really well with those. I sold a lot of those. I was like a baller for an 18-year-old. I was clearing like 75 grand a year. And then I was selling at a street fair, and I met this guy that was making $1 million a year selling t-shirts. And I was like, whoa, that is all the money in the world. He's, look, it's only 150 in profit. I'm like, yeah, 150 grand in profit is all the money in the world. Let's go. I am going to go start a t-shirt company. And I was in the counterculture in general, and so I started a very offensive t-shirt company and sold to tattoo shops, head shops. I was the FU t-shirt girl. And then I very quickly realized there was actually way more money selling like irreverent t-shirts that weren't quite as offensive to Hot Topic and Mr. Rags, Miller's Outpost, different chain stores. And it's just this humongous market that like nobody realizes how big the market is until they get into it.
Yeah. And like you had that aha moment for yourself. Hey, selling $1 million, I can do that. Why can't I do that?
Exactly. So the first year I did about 150,000 in gross revenue. And then the second year with anti-establishment, I broke 1 million in sales. And so I was like, oh my God, this is so easy. Like, I'm just going to go do this.
But now you're in stickers.
Yes, we sold t-shirts and stickers. So people kept asking, like, hey, can we get our stickers made? And then I very quickly did all of the math. And I'm like, I'm paying 6 cents a sticker from my screen printer right now. And I can sell them for 25 cents. The mommy likes those margins. That's crazy. That's cuckoo pants money.
Yeah.
And then I started to realize, wait a minute, every college, every government agency, every small business, every medium business, every large business, every nonprofit, every tattoo artist, every band, every everything uses stickers to market. So I bet this is a real big industry, which it is.
And stickers have seen like a renaissance as well and a revival lately because
Yeah.
there's been a lot of different online platforms that now you can get stickers from. But I know personally, I've seen them lately even more and more, especially like going into an outdoor store and you have all the for all the different mountains and the parks and there's so many more just in the general consciousness, maybe.
Yeah, people have really taken to decorating their Kindles and their water bottles and the back of their cars and their everything. And it's so much more accessible and easy to get really good logos made. And people are showing each other how clever and smart they are through social media a lot. So way more people are like writing little slogans that they want to be put on a sticker. So they're everywhere.
Now, I know before we got on, you mentioned that you have a couple of companies. So are you still doing apparel or is like for you, like Sticker Junkie, you're 100% all in at this point?
Here is my little shtick, my little background. I was retired. I was living in Sedona, Arizona. I was retired for 7 years, just basically hiking with my dog Rico every day, drinking marijuana tea and living my best life. And then all of a sudden, I woke up on 9/9/2023 and I was $1.84 million in debt. And I was like, excuse me, that what? Where did all my money go? Good question. So I started to dive into the books, and for all kinds of reasons, I did not see what was happening in the business. And beyond some theft, it really was just incompetence in the company in every way. It tucked along, and I had some huge contract screen printing clients that I'd had for many years. And because of the way the business was being run and the lack of my attention into the business, the person that was running it, we just lost all of our big long-term clients. And you don't feel that for a little while because like maybe Pepsi just doesn't need stuff right now. Do you know? You don't feel it straight away, or I didn't feel it straight away. And once I saw what was happening in the business, I was losing $1,521 a day in this company that I had owned for a very long time. And that had been going on for a couple of years. And I didn't see it because the lockdowns and we had to close down for a little bit and then we opened up. And I just thought maybe things are shifting and this is fine, but this was very not fine. So
And
I
I'm
had
sure
to
there's
go
other cyclical things that you see not with some clients, maybe they don't do everything monthly. Maybe it's a different cycle. They're changing their cycle up. Maybe things have changed, but it wasn't
back.
in this case.
No, it was not. And so I had to go in and completely rebuild the whole company from scratch. It was almost like a breakdown of the entire company because I had been out of the company for so long. And I decided that day on September 9th of 2023 that I had started 14 companies since I was 18 years old, and that I was going to go back and rebuild all of the different companies that I'd ever started two at a time, and then document the whole thing for a series, for a TV show, for a documentary, and for a podcast. And so we do have a podcast now. It's called Andrea Lake 101, The Making of a Billionaire. I think we're on episode like 30 or something. And go
Hmm.
check that out of what it's been like to go back in and rediscover myself as an entrepreneur and as a badass.
Yeah. So what is it for you as an entrepreneur in a printing industry that is very heavily male?
Yeah, it's actually it's pretty easy.
Is it? How?
I'm not gonna lie, because it's a differentiator. So everyone has been operating and competing in the same way, and I'm going in an incredibly feminine way of like just straight up connections. All of my competitors are competing with each other on Instagram, on Google Ads. That it is incredibly outpriced to compete in that space because so many people are dumping tens of millions of dollars of ads into that space. But what I was finding from that is that they are getting clients that are spending about $50 to $70 on an order. And our average order is about $300. And the clients that I'm going for are huge institutions, Fortune 500s, as well as really good small businesses, a dispensary that has 4 or 5 locations, even a single location brewery, or a brewery that's a small chain, small chains of restaurants, and then giving this hyper customized experience, the best customer service that you could possibly ever ask for, and really nurturing those client relationships with people who need anywhere over $4,000 worth of stickers a year. We do that with anyone, with all of our clients, but we do special extra stuff actually for anyone who orders over $1,500 a year. We send out these Trader Joe's gift boxes every 6 months that surprise people with cute little promo sticker packs. And it's like a fun environment, but it's quite different than the way that everybody else is looking at it. And that was out of necessity. I didn't have the money to go compete with people on Instagram. Mhm.
Or do Google ads or do all of
Exactly.
those. That costs. And there's a lot of, I want to say babysitting, but there's a lot of attention that needs to be paid to all those mediums to make sure that you are hitting the right audience, that you are attracting the right people with your ad, and that it's getting promoted the right way to the right people, to the right audiences at that time.
And a lot of people in that space are doing loss leaders for the first sale. So they're doing like 30% off, 40% off, 70% off, 50 stickers for $9. And I'm like, I can't compete with that. And they're in the comfortable position with the very nice margins that exist in printing. And they can do that to secure that client with that first one-time sale and gain a lot of loyalty that way. So I just had to do it in a different, way more high touch way.
So what is it like to rebuild your business from scratch?
I lived in my warehouse for the first year. I am not joking. I commissioned a studio to be built into my warehouse. I washed my hair in a sink for a year and just threw everything into it. I made a promise to myself that I would work all day, every day for the next 27 months with the ethos of I just was retired. I already took all the days off. 27 months is not going to burn me out after basically taking 7 years off. And I just knew that if I worked as hard as I could for 27 months and did the things that like nobody wants to do, I could go live the life that everybody wants to live because I knew it would be enough time to turn around my businesses.
What was it though about printing that you said that this is the business that you're going to rebuild and that this is really where you're going to set your flag and really go for it?
The profit margins.
Really?
Yes, and also the hugeness. Like NPR estimated that stickers and labels was like 26.1 billion annual, and I believe it is more like 42 billion annual just US. It is such a hugely massive space, especially when you start to include labels, food packaging, anything like that. Colleges, all colleges order lots and lots of stickers. As soon as I started to see the bigness of this space, I was like, how was this company only ever doing like 4 million annual revenue, 2 million annual revenue? It's like shooting fish in a barrel. Everyone needs stickers. They're doing. Plus, it's fun and it's highly visual. It's a great story. It's really easy to shoot cool reels that look right, etc.
And I think that's all the marketing side. It's like, how do you attract those eyeballs? How do you get people interested and realize that they can have something that's custom to them?
Exactly. And then also, we're engaging them a lot in our story because we had Stickergate come up last year, which was like manna from heaven. We're coming up on the 1 year anniversary of Stickergate. And it
Should I
was
ask what Stickergate was?
absolutely. I feel like a lot of your listeners know because they're in the printing space, but for anyone that doesn't know, there is a very large competitor of ours. They're the dominant player in this space. I have a very good estimate on what their numbers are. We do about $1.95 million in revenue with 16 employees. Right now, we will do 10 by the end of the year. And they have 1,100 employees. So you do the math on that. That's right. This is a large company. And no one was asking. And then out of the blue, the CEO of that company came out very heavy with support for Donald Trump.
Okay.
And his messaging was like, I want to bring kindness from both sides of the political aisle while simultaneously saying some of the most profoundly offensive things without even realizing it, saying, I will not call Vice President Harris by her name. He only would call her Biden. He goes, "Oh, I call her Biden. I call her Biden because I don't think she deserves any name recognition." I'm like, okay, guy who makes stickers for a living, that sounds really unifying and kind. Like,
Very
it's
unifying and kind. Yes.
very unifying and kind. And then just kept going with it, kept going with it, kept going with it, and said some truly offensive stuff. And their way to come back from this was to hire a handicapped guy and do a series of commercials that looked very well produced and very expensive to promote something called, and I am not kidding, the retard pass.
What?
Yes, I know. It looks like, you can Google it. It looks like a Monopoly get out of jail free card. And they made a bunch of stickers that looked like a Monopoly get out of jail free card and a bunch of what I personally, they thought it was funny. This is their sense of humor. They think this
Mhm.
is great. They want to do this. And then we made some reels where we pointed out how very not funny that we thought that it was, but we did it in a really funny way. And of course, everything that we were doing was catching traction because we're a bunch of slogan writers and we're
Mhm.
funny. So when he was like, I don't want to say her name, so I just call her Biden, we clipped that into a reel. And then I clipped it and said, that's okay. You don't have to say her name if you don't want to. Madam Vice President, that works just fine too. So we were very playful. We didn't go like hard on some other side. We just were working with what we had in front of us.
And
He just
apparently,
gave
and
Donald
still are, I'm
Trump,
guessing.
they still are, they just gave Donald, they fired 68 people one day. And like the next day, the CEO and owner of that company, this is a privately held company, very large company, flew to Mar-a-Lago and presented Donald Trump with a $300,000 statue of himself. You cannot make this up. It was covered on Jimmy Kimmel. And I personally know Donald Trump because I was the contestant on The Apprentice. There is a reason that my book is called You're Gonna Think I'm a Pathological Liar. You literally cannot make this up.
It's really hard to make up some of this stuff.
It's so crazy. And
And
I'm so thankful for it.
and I guess part of it too is like in some ways you don't have to make it up because real life is just very interesting
It
in and of
is.
itself.
Whatever version of the simulation we're in, there are good writers right now.
Moving back into print a little bit and your role in the sticker side of things,
Yep.
people have a lot of misconceptions about what print is,
Okay.
especially women. There's still, in many cases, still the old boys network. We still see a lot of that. How would you challenge some people's with their assumptions that it's still the old boys network, that it's an older market? Obviously, we're topical, stuff that we've been talking about of what's going on right now. But what are ways that you would challenge some of those assumptions?
I would say it's true until it's not. And it only became legal for a woman to get a business loan in 1988. Okay? I was 14 years old when it first became legal, even for a woman to receive a business loan, which means they were not widely available for 10 or 15 more years. That's why I'm a bootstrapper, period. And it is true until it's not. But what's interesting is when you have a network of just one group of people and they've been handing each other business for years, and that's just the way that things work. And then all of a sudden, women are allowed to come into business, that all of a sudden we are thinking very differently. And because women are so much more naturally, I'm not saying men are not, cannot be this way, but women are so much more naturally oriented towards connection, towards nurturing and fostering connection. And now with everything coming up with women being like, no, let's support each other's businesses as much as we can, because we have centuries of catch up to play here. And I also find in my company personally, because everybody's going to be different, when I came back into that company, I let go of everyone. I brought it back down to 0 employees and have rebuilt it back up to 16. We should be like 35 in another 6 months. And it was done with such a mindful desire to create truly just a team, a place where people want to come to work and use their whole brain and be in the position that is best for them, where it is not punitive if you have to take a day off because your kid is sick. And in my company, on base salary, the highest person never makes more than 3.5 times the lowest paid person. So it is our goal right now to get us up to a living wage in San Diego County, where stickerjunkie.com is based, is $31 an hour. So our goal is to have a minimum wage of $32 an hour because that's how much it actually costs to live here. So we're also challenging a lot of topical stuff of like, why on earth Are we saying it is okay for anyone to go work 40 hours a week, whether that is scrubbing toilets at McDonald's, which was my first job, or whether that is the CEO of a company? Why is it okay if somebody is scrubbing toilets at McDonald's that we pay them a poverty wage way less than you could possibly live on? That is insane. And we are being distracted with a lot of other stuff in the media, all of which is in order to keep this wackadoo, illogical thing going, where that's a terrible job, so you have to work 3 of them. And that's cuckoo pants crazy. And so there's a whole lot of things that we need to reorient in order to make society run smoothly again. And so I just thought, if I've been called back into this company, it's for a reason, and we're gonna create this in a way that I would want to create a company.
Having a living wage, you don't think it's a lot, but it's huge.
Yeah.
I know recently I watched CBS Evening
Mhm.
News, and they were talking about just dealing with the economy in the industry, not in the US right now. And they're
Yeah.
talking to a teacher that was making less than $40,000 a year,
It's insane.
has to work a second job,
Mhm.
has kids. I'm like, that's an educator that's teaching our children, and she doesn't have a working wage in some cases. And
In almost all cases.
yeah, but it's just yeah, kudos to you to be able to do it. I know that's something that's really difficult
It
just
is.
because of the pressures from the economy and
Mhm.
making sure that the business is making money, and there's so many other things that go into that layer in
Mhm.
order to make sure that you can have that kind of working wage.
Exactly, and we don't have it yet because we can't afford it yet.
Mhm.
We'll be able, we will comfortably be able to afford this once we hit 14 million in annual revenue, which should be sometime in the early to the middle part of next year. However, right now, our minimum wage that we pay is $22 an hour, which is not a living wage because we can't afford it. Our people don't have health care right now because we can't afford it. So we did this social media campaign where we're showing people what our targets are, how much money we're making every month. Every person in my company has access to exactly how much money did we make today, exactly how much money did we make this month, exactly how much, what percentage of your big whole pie of money should be going towards payroll, what percentage needs to be held aside for cost of goods, for XYZ, for rent, for everything. And when I explain it to my employees, otherwise they would just be thinking like, oh, we're making 2 million bucks a year. That's all the money in the world. I'm like 0%. We actually need to double our sales right now to be able to keep pace with the scale that we want.
Why is it important to be that transparent?
Because otherwise there is resentment that builds up and there's a total misunderstanding. I also think that there's a whole lot of outsized wealth in this country, and I don't think anyone would hate billionaires. I don't think anybody would deny Jeff Bezos of his $500 million yacht if every single person at Amazon baseline was making 70 grand a year, or whatever the living wage is for where they live. In San Diego County, $67,000 a year is a living wage. So wherever they are in the country, if they're making a baseline living wage, if they have healthcare, medical, dental, if they have easy access to maternity, paternity leave, etc., then everybody would be like, I just want to go work for Amazon. If I owned Amazon, everybody would want to go work for Amazon. And I own Sticker Junkie. And when we run ads, when we're hiring, which we're just about to hire someone new into social media, we get flooded with applications because of the way that we treat the people on our team. But it's very intentional, it's very deliberate. It is hard to create a team like this that is tight and that is really oriented towards the same goal. And one of the rules is you have got to let go of people quickly. You cannot drag anybody along that doesn't have your same vision, because one person that's really not liking their job can really sully the whole field.
It can, I
Mhm.
mean, that it's incestuous, it's cancerous
It is.
when it just infiltrates, and then unfortunately that pulls down companies
It does.
as a whole and departments, and as you get larger, of course, etc. In terms of starting over, did you actually hire any of those folks back, or did you really start from zero? You didn't?
No, I really started from scratch. I called up my best friend, as one does, and she worked for me for about a year, a little less than a year. She worked with me. in the company helping me to rebuild it, and I literally could not have done it without her. And then she, of course, went back into her own life. And very luckily, one of the businesses that I own, which is always the one out of the 14 that if I just want to sound like a baller, I talk about this one. It was Delinquent Distribution, which started out as like funny t-shirts to Hot Topic, right? I'm bad with names. Can I just call you dumbass or something
Yeah.
like that? And then I started licensing t-shirts and I ended up owning the exclusive sales distribution rights on Minecraft, World of Warcraft, Call of Duty, The Walking Dead. The look on your face right now, that's the look that I get from people. They're like, what, excuse me? How on earth did you lose all your money? I know. Go listen to the podcast.
That is definitely one of my questions is how did you wake up with no money?
It's a long story. I owned a company where my CTO actually was murdered, and I had self-financed the company, and we lost. I know there's devastating portions, obviously, to the story, and it was one thing after another like that. I started a thing called the Winston House in Venice Beach, where Justin Bieber literally played in my living room. Again, the name of the book is You're Gonna Think I'm a Pathological Liar. We started this big music house, and the Chainsmokers, Hazier, Ed Sheeran, Justin Bieber, Miley Cyrus, anybody you can think of played private shows in our living room for 150 or 200 people that never knew who the musical guest was going to be. And that they didn't charge us to play, and we didn't charge people to come. And so a lot of that just came out of my pocket. So it was a lot of stuff in a row that happened to cause that.
A lot of little things that all rolled in together.
And they had to, otherwise I wouldn't have come back in this company. And once I came back in, it's been like unicorns and rainbows and magic after the first 14 months was done. The first 14 months were just maybe 15. The first 15 months were just straight up hard. And the last 7 months has been a whole lot easier because in the beginning, I was saying the same things that I'm saying now. I am going to go sell this show to Netflix. I am going to go XYZ. But now that we're 22 months in and we're coming up on our second year of 500% in a row growth, people are like, whoa, I want to grow my business 500%. So it's just catching traction on
Mhm.
itself. But it was a lot. It was a lot of very hard work on myriad different fronts at the same time, securing the book deal, moving forward to the point where we're just about to secure the TV deal, etc.
Very interesting.
And a lot of luck.
I'll be looking forward to seeing some of that stuff as it comes out.
Thanks.
Where are you finding the people that you're hiring?
Well, we find them two ways. When I started out, we found them just through job ads on Indeed or Craigslist or wherever. And now we get a whole lot of inquiries just through our social media. And we also have a bunch of people who work there who have been in their friends' ears about, you are not going to believe this. And yes, it's XYZ amazing. And so a lot of the graphic designers know other graphic designers. And I owned the sales rights on all of the video gaming merchandise. But one of my old friends came in as a business partner. Brian Burling is our chief operations officer, and he was the first employee of Jinx, which owned the licensing rights on Minecraft, World of Warcraft, Call It. So he has this huge experience also of having taken a company from nothing to like $100 million in revenue. I have done $440 million in revenue over the course of all of these different companies. So we actually know the roadmap of this is what you have to do right now to get a
There.
5x revenue next year.
And you can do that in a year.
500, yes. The way that we'll get from 10 to 50, which is much harder than getting from 2 to 10, is by having a TV show. Natural fit. People see it. They want to look at the Kardashians are all like hundreds of millionaires or billionaires.
Great,
Not that
right?
our show will be remotely like that. It's run by Power Chick Mafia Entertainment. It is about like just badass entrepreneurship and how you do it. And of course, the chaos, because you're obviously going to make mistakes as we move forward at 500% annual. You got to watch what you're doing.
Yeah, there's so many moving pieces. Like you said, there you have to control the chaos
Yeah.
and still make sure that things are getting done, that things are getting paid,
Yeah.
and all of that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yes, and we kept running into the problems because 1.95 million is about like 160,000, 175,000 a month is about where we're at, where we land right in there. And we have to solve the problems of a $20 million company on a $2 million annual, but more on $160,000 a month. So that was really tough, like getting all of our legal duckies in a row, even being able to hire general counsel. It was a lot of negotiation for all of that.
And that's even notwithstanding your equipment purchases, supplies, making sure you can actually get the things that you've promised out the door.
That is exactly right. And because I had trashed my credit, because I ran my credit card, I cashed out my retirement savings. I ran my credit cards to the limits. I took out every working capital loan that I could take out. And so I couldn't get loans on the machinery. I also had issues to clear up with every state agency and the IRS. It was a slog. And so I had to buy my new equipment in cash while we're scaling. So we own it all. There's no monthly payments
Which
on
is great.
our equipment, which is fantastic. But it was a lot. It's intense.
Yeah, definitely. I guess for you, as I'm wrapping up, one of the favorite questions that I ask of all the women that I talk to is knowing what you know now, your history, the various companies that you've been involved with, between apparel, between stickers, packaging, all of the things. If you were starting in print today, brand new, fresh faced, what advice would you give yourself?
Well, it's pretty similar, honestly, to what I actually did when I started over like 22 months ago, which was you have fucking got this. Do not have anyone in your orbit or in your circle who is tearing you down. Only believe in your dreams. Obviously, it's a little easier for me to say because I know that I can do this, but it's one thing to say, I have got this and I can do this versus actually going and doing it. I was in tears on January of 2025 when I was going over the numbers with my employees and explaining to them that we had hit 482% because the level of confidence that I was giving off, I didn't really have that until I had actually done the thing.
Hmm.
And so just truly believing in myself, knowing that I could do it and not listening to any criticism from anyone saying that I couldn't. If you do not believe in me, you do not get to be on my team because I will not have that around me. Um, and I think that that's a boundary that a lot of women don't set. And we hear some criticism from somewhere and we play this smaller version of ourselves or we apologize for our bigness. I am just coming back into the space where I'm like, no, I'm rad. I'm very, 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 very good at business. I am equally as good at business as somebody in the NBA or WNBA who goes to play basketball and just says, look, I'm like one of the best free shot throwers in the world. And they just are. And in business, I'm like, look, I've started a lot of companies and I very confidently can say, I can do this. And the only thing that separates people who do it and who don't do it is the people who fail, like I failed by every metric of my life at that point. I'm on a weight loss journey. I just lost like 30 pounds. I had lost all of my money. And I'm like, that's it. I'm just getting myself back together, period, on every metric of life. And I can. And I would just instill more confidence in women in themselves. And if you are too loud or too confident or it's jarring for someone, the level of you saying, I am good at this, they are not a person that you want around you. They're not. Mhm.
How do you get that confidence in the first place?
Good question. I actually really had lost it. I really had. Once I was on TV, like I had a stalker that was terrifying, and a whole bunch of very bad things happened right in a row over the course of actually many years that really just shook my confidence. And then I had all of these people, mostly men, telling me that I had just been lucky and whatever. And I just realized, like, no, actually, I work really hard. I work really hard for everything that I have. When I say I'm going to work all day, every day for 27 months, what I mean is I'm going to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and work until I come home, eat dinner at 7 o'clock, go to bed. There's a lot of luck. Like, it was really lucky that Sticker Mule created this, but we created Stickergate. I created Stickergate. I called Forbes magazine. I got articles written about it. I called it Stickergate everywhere. We came out with a bunch of intensely great artwork. We tagged it on all social media. We did all of the Stickergate things. There's a reason it's called that, and it's because we created a marketing campaign around it. So I think it's really like I just said actually on my podcast the other day, I used to spend all of my time focused on my B-roll, on my behind the scenes. And I never gave myself an ounce of credit for my highlight reel. And now I'm like, yeah, if you have a highlight reel, you have a whole lot of B-roll. There's a whole lot of really boring stuff that goes into building a huge company. But really, I think it's just about not listening to other people telling you you're bad. I think that's the biggest reason that we think that we're bad, is that we have been told that we are wrong in some way. And we internalize that voice, women do, and beat themselves up with that just ridiculous nonsense. And we need to stop doing that. And we need to give each other permission to stop doing that.
Yeah, that's one of those things I think that a lot of people are feeling. They hear those voices from many different places
Yeah.
that you're not good enough, or you're not good enough for the C-suite. You're not good enough to start a company.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, it gets into women's heads.
It does.
And then you have imposter syndrome, like people that make it, and then they're like, oh, I don't know if I really should be here. But you've put in the work.
Yeah. I actually got a lot of permission really recently. I have to figure out how to say her name. From the rugby player, Alona.
Okay.
Do you know who I'm talking about? The fantastic Olympic rugby player. She is all over social media. She was just on Dancing with the Stars. And she got asked about imposter syndrome. And she's like, oh, yeah, I don't have that. And I was like, what? She's
Do
like,
you
I
not
don't
have that, right?
She's like, do you know how I got to the Olympics? I trained every single day. From the time I was X years old until right now, I trained really hard. I trained for 6 hours a day. Do you know why I became famous on TikTok? Because I posted all of the time and I'm really funny. And I learned how to properly edit the videos and I saw which ones performed well. And then I did more stuff like that. So of course I was going to be successful. It wasn't even surprising to me when I went viral. I did all of the things that you need to do to go to the Olympics. And I did all of the things that you need to do to go viral. And the release that gave me, of course, I had 482% growth in my company that first year. I was trying everything. I was sending out different mailers. I was going and taking sales meetings, and I was looking at this is what works, this is what doesn't. We did try Instagram and Google Ads, but you know what the thing is with that? You have to know what you're doing or you're going to lose money. And I didn't know what I was doing, and I couldn't afford to hire a firm. So I'm like, okay, that is not the route for me. This is what I can do over here. And just taking it and saying, I did that. I lived in the warehouse for a year. I washed my hair in the sink. I worked for almost 24 hours a day. And that's why the company was successful, is because I did that. And that's why the company continues to be successful and have this growth, is because me and now my team. And as soon as we were able to hire staff and hire employees in, and then now it's not just me, then it was like 4 of us all with the same vision. Now it's 16 of us all with the same vision. And that becomes an unstoppable force.
And soon to be more.
Soon to be.
Andrea, it was a pleasure chatting with you today. So thank you so much for taking some time to chat about your journey and continuing journey as you continue to grow your company.
Thanks for having me, Denise. It was an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for joining us on this journey to celebrate and amplify the voices of women in the printing industry. If you have a story to share or know someone whose journey deserves to be highlighted, we'd love to hear from you. Together, let's continue inspiring and empowering the next generation of leaders. Until next time, keep leaving your imprint. This is Her Imprint. See you soon.